I'm kind of pitching myself here as somebody who's an experienced investor, but always, I'm definitely new to this business as well. I just want to speak about this product and just how much, it has really helped me, propel myself, get better with talking with sellers, actually be able to close a deal. My strategies right now have been primarily direct mail, cold calling, and cold texting. And I've found a lot of success with Real Estate IQ, especially being able to get in front of customers, have engaging conversations. And of course, I'm hoping to use all of that to build my own business and eventually retire off.
Excited to be here, and I want to say a big thank you to Real Estate IQ. They have the absolute top leads in the industry and just make investing effortless for all of us as real estate investors here in Texas and obviously everywhere else that they're focused. And I'm proud to be associated with Real Estate IQ. Love what you guys do and love how you all help investors so that we can focus on the thing that makes us the most money, which is the job of real estate investing.
I wanted to jump on this morning and give a shout out to Real Estate IQ. I began my journey with them a few years ago, just using some of the more basic products, the off-market leads. And since then, growing and visiting and talking with not only Steve, but other people who are involved with Real Estate IQ, I've had the opportunity to actually not only be a client, but I also became an investor with them. And that is one of the beauties of being able to be part of Real Estate IQ, is it gives you the opportunity to grow as an investor, especially in real estate.
Welcome to your 3-minute update on the U.S. real estate market as of late June 2025. Let's take a look first of the market overview. The U.S. housing market is experiencing a notable shift. After years of tight inventory and rapid price growth, the landscape is changing. Inventory is rising, sales are mixed, and affordability remains a central challenge. Home sales took a significant hit in May, dropping 13.7% from April and falling over 6% compared to last year. This is the lowest level seen since the pandemic, with the South seeing the steepest declines. In contrast, existing home sales surprised on the upside, ticking up 0.8% in June for the second straight monthly gain, though they remain slightly below last year's pace. Inventory is building across the country. There are now over 500,000 new homes for sale, enough to last nearly 10 months at the current sales pace. This marks a clear move toward a buyer's market, especially in the South and West, where new construction has outpaced demand. For sellers, this means more competition and a growing need to price homes realistically. About 40% of homes are now selling below asking price, and price cuts are increasingly common. Despite the inventory surge, prices are still edging up. The median new home price is $426,600, up 3% from last year. Existing home prices are also rising, with the median now at $422,800. However, with more homes sitting on the market longer, the pace of price growth is expected to moderate. Mortgage rates have dipped slightly but remain high, with the average 30-year fixed rate at 6.76%. This keeps monthly payments elevated and continues to sideline many potential buyers, especially first-timers. Cash buyers and investors are stepping in to fill some of the gap, now accounting for over a quarter of all sales. The Northeast and Midwest are outperforming, with modest sales and price gains thanks to better affordability and steadier demand. Meanwhile, the South and West are seeing slower sales and more unsold inventory, as higher prices and rapid construction outpace local demand. Buyers now have more options and negotiating power, but high rates still limit affordability. Sellers must adapt to increased competition, price strategically, and be prepared for longer sales cycles. Investors should watch for opportunities in regions where demand is holding up, particularly the Northeast and Midwest. The market's next moves will depend on mortgage rates and broader economic trends. If rates fall, pent-up demand could return. For now, expect a more balanced market, with buyers gaining leverage and sellers needing to adjust to new realities. That's your 3-minute market snapshot. Stay tuned for further updates as the market continues to
All right, let's get started. Welcome, everybody. Today we have another jam-packed event for you for the next hour. And let me just do a quick intro of our host organization. Real Estate IQ is a deal finding solutions company. We have all kinds of new programs. Our biggest, most popular product is our off-market leads, where we mine the freshest motivated seller data, notably the pre-foreclosures and pre-foreclosures, so you can do outreach and buy directly from the motivated seller themselves. We also have tons of other programs that we recently launched, like the deals program and also the funding program, which really aim towards really helping you as a real estate investor succeed by finding deals and getting the capital you need to find the deals. And we show this every time, even when we show financial data for say a particular deal on the returns. All of this is presented for educational purposes only. It's just one case, right? Not all. It's not representative for all the cases. Sometimes you make a good return on a deal. Sometimes you lose too. So there's always risk involved, and we don't offer investment, financial, or legal advice. And if you have a lead and you need help closing it, every step of the way, we have a team of advisors that can step in and kind of give you advice and walk you through how to close the deal. So all you need to do is to send the deal over to me, and I'll connect you with the right expert to help with your particular case. I personally have benefited a lot from our network as well. I was able to kind of close quite a few deals just by picking up the phone and go, hey, what do I do with this particular case? Today's agenda, we will finish our introduction very shortly, and then we're going to talk about a little bit of an update, right? Number of the day for the market, and we'll also we have prepared a case study for you. And then we have a really cool second part of our feature educational topic on entrepreneurship. And then we'll bring it down to Q&A and also closing. If you have deals, you want to pitch, this is the time. You can use the chat to kind of share the information of your deal and your contact information, and we'll highlight your information. If you want to talk, we'll also invite you to the studio to physically or like verbally present the deal also. Okay, so real quick on the market update. Today, we're going to look at the Houston apartment market. We are looking at a significant slowdown based on the latest data from Rent Cafe. In 2025, Houston is projected to deliver a little over 14,000 new apartment units, and that is a 37.6% decrease from the previous year. And between 2023 and 2024, Houston has delivered a little over 49,000 apartments. In those 2 years, it's a record high of supply that has softened the market since 2022. And the average monthly rent is at about $1,277. The real estate experts are predicting the construction slowdown is going to help balance the market and potentially leading to a rent increase. So that's what we have for you today on Houston apartments. And then we want to show a case study. I know last week we promised to show some financial numbers of the previous deals. I think we'll postpone that to next week. And actually, we're going to show you a little bit of a short sale today. Tamla has a death in the family, and she's not able to join us, unfortunately. But she gave me some notes too to kind of share with you. And her message for everybody is, short sales may sound intimidating, mainly because there's a process that not every investors understand, and as a result, most investors kind of shy away from short sales. But just by understanding the flow and the structure, right, and the process, short sales is actually a really good source and good category for getting the deals. So let's take a look at this Josephine deal. The timeline is a little bit vague now, but this is a property that was going into foreclosure, and the owner had tried to seek deed in lieu, which is giving the property back to the lender or the bank in exchange for basically kind of canceling the mortgage, right? Just give it back to them. And the lender has said a no. And so by the time I reached out to this owner, she was she wanted to sell, and she was ready and for a short sale. And when we did ran the numbers and all that, we also noticed that we realized that short sale is really the one of the few paths that she could go. So let's just kind of take a look at the property, and then I'll kind of finish the story of this particular deal and how we end up closing the deal. Not closing the deal yet. It's actually still under contract, but how we got the deal under contract. As you can see, so I think after we did the outreach, I was able to make out that Josephine is about 30-40 minutes from Plano, which is north of Dallas. And there's a lot of new builds built in that area. This house was built in 2024, so just last year. And what we noticed, and we kind of knew ahead of time, the owner told me that all the appliances were gone. And so you can see here in the kitchen, there's no stove, right? There's no dishwasher, no fridges, no like washing machine, all that stuff. The kitchen sink, like, no faucets, and the garbage disposal, is all out. I took some pictures, but for the sake of just showing you the kind of the quick storytelling, I don't have that photo. But the garbage disposal is also gone. This is the AC unit. So on the outside, you have one unit that's gone, and then the inside unit of the air conditioning is also gone. This is in the attic on the right side. So it's a new build, everything kind of looks new, and the condition looks pretty decent, all right, as a new build would be, but all the appliances are gone. Okay, here you see, above the switch, we think, what it would be is like a thermostat that's gone. In one of the bathrooms, you see the shower head is gone. And then the one in the middle is the water heater. That's gone. And then inside the garage, you can see that there's no trace of the garage door or the garage opener. So that's probably one of the main negative of the property, is that all the appliances were gone. Aside from that, structurally, I didn't see anything that needs repair for the property per se. And so we ended up making an offer to the seller, and we made a pretty low offer, actually. I would say it's a percentage, less than 50% of the after repair value, because the way we calculate it is that, okay, we're going to need to hold the property for a while. We'll have to put in the appliances, or if we choose to wholesale, the person buying the property is going to need to put in all the appliances, buy all the appliances, and then it may work as a rental, or it could work as a flip, but we kind of want to see a particular amount of margin, either if we try to keep it ourselves, and our first thought is, let's see if we can wholesale this, and so we put a pretty low offer. The seller, in that sense, it's not necessarily kind of a big negotiation with the seller. The seller just really wanted to stop the foreclosure, and so as long as we have all the documents ready and work with the lender, the negotiation is going to end up being the lender. And so from the seller's perspective, she didn't try to negotiate. Our main focus was get under contract, get all the paperwork done. I think at that time we were probably a week or 2 weeks from the foreclosure itself. So the timeline was quite tight. So we very quickly put it under contract, and she put us in as a power. She gave us authorization to speak and work with the lender, and we got all the paperwork together, and then we started working with the lender. And so kind of the note here is, let's see, you need a short sale addendum as a part of the offer. So kind of basically, how do we know it's going to be a short sale, right? If they owe more than how much, let's say, the house is worth, and ideally, and it's kind of in general, if they owe more than what our offer is, it's going to become a short sale because the lender will need to agree to reduce how much they own on the note. I guess they're going to have to reduce it. So you need a short sale addendum as part of the paperwork. And you need a third-party authorization to work and talk directly with the lender. Sometimes the seller already have it listed with an agent, and the agent will have that third-party authorization, which is also okay, right? As long as you got somebody who can directly work with the lender. And the lender will tend to dictate the terms, right? So they may say, hey, this is the price that they would kind of like the minimum price that they would sell, but it's actually just a negotiation tactic, kind of based on these are Tamla's notes on her experience on the short sale. It's just a negotiation tactic. There are once you get all the paperwork in and you're able to stop the foreclosure, then the negotiation starts, and we may or may not end up having the offer approved by the lender because we offer so low, but it's a starting point of that negotiation. Another thing that she wanted to mention is that a lot of times as investors, if we don't understand the process, we try to shy away from the short sale. But if the lender, and there's no way of telling whether the lender is willing to accept the low offer or what the negotiation is, whether they're going to approve the offer price. But if they do, you tend to be able to acquire it at a really good discounted value, and so it's a really good channel. It's a really good category of deals to buy short sales, right? And obviously we play percentages. A percentage number of contracts may not go through and it doesn't get approved, but there's a percentage that goes through, and as long as we kind of work on those numbers, we'll always win some deals. You need to get all the paperwork in there to stop the foreclosure, and I have this was my first short sale transaction and short sale property. A lot of like 5-6 different paperwork that needs to be put together, but it's just a process, right? We go through it once, or we understand the process. It's not that difficult, and the lender will end up usually paying both the listing and the buying agent. The lender will pay that. Don't be afraid of the short sale. It could be lengthy. It could take 4 to 6 months, maybe longer, sometimes shorter. And we were just talking about like the fact that if it's a retail real estate buyer, like a home buyer, usually you're kind of looking for the next house you want to move to. It could be like they're moving from an apartment, they want to buy a house, or they have a house that they need to sell in order to buy this new one. A lot of times they can't afford that lengthy time and the uncertainty of being able to close the deal if they're looking for like a homestead. And that actually creates a really good situation for us investors, where we're in a very well position to kind of buy the property, as long as we don't mind the length of that process, right? Just being patient and kind of going with the process, and we'll be able to acquire it at a good price. Another note that she said is, a lot of times, and we're also seeing this when you're doing outreach to folks that are going to foreclosure, right? So you're marketing to the pre-foreclosure leads. The seller may or may not know about the short sale option. Many times the lender will offer a deed in lieu option and a foreclosure option, but they don't bring up the short sale option. So these sellers may not be aware and realize that they can do a short sale. And so if we can explain to them and help them understand that they can do a short sale, and then they're also willing to do the short sale, then the interaction with the seller is relatively easy, because they're not gonna be the one that stands to like lose money, right? It's the lender that's gonna needing to kind of take a write-off. And also, really depends on which lender and how the process goes. It could be that when you're negotiating with the lender, that they decide to sell the note to another right? Because all these mortgage notes are being traded and bought and sold. And the bank may decide to sell it for 30 cents to a dollar to another institution, and you kind of end up, if that's the case, then you actually stand a very good chance of acquiring it at a good deal, because the new buyer, they already kind of bought it at a discount, and they don't need to kind of take a loss on that particular note. So kind of the gist is that every short sale is different. The lender is different, right? The situation is different, and just kind of, I guess, play a numbers game and kind of stick with the process, and don't be afraid of short sale. It's kind of the key message here. All right. Okay. So if you have questions on a short sale, I'll try my best to answer them. And if not, we can also always save it for Tamla when she comes back to join us. Okay, I can certainly share with you my experience in dealing with this. We actually, after this deal, we ended up putting 2 other deals under contract for short sale. So we actually have 3 deals under contract. We wrote 2 more. Those 2 are not accepted. So we did 5, and then we got 3 accepted. So 3 are under contract. And next, I think we're almost at time here. Let me invite my executive partner, my business partner, Mr. John Huang, up here. John, welcome. Let me add you on stage.
Of course.
So John's a really good friend of mine, and really enjoy his talk on entrepreneurship and spirituality. And as I mentioned before, that we really connected on kind of the spiritual level on, great, it's good to run a business, but, what's the meaning of this? What's the point of all this? And John actually had a very interesting coffee discussion with a gentleman just yesterday about spirituality. He's very very religious. He talks about God. But what's the point of everything that we do? And I thought this talk just kind of really put it together. And so without further ado, Mr. John Huang, I have learned so much from you, and really look forward to the rest of this talk as well.
All right. Thank you so much, Steve. I always enjoyed our fellowship, our companionship, and our teamwork, everything. And I hope, all the trainees and the partners we work together can essentially duplicate this companionship, this fellowship that we built, not only on the business transactions, managing teams and companies, but also in this spirituality connection. And ultimately, this is where you want your company to become. Okay. And some of you may say, I'm not religious. I don't go to church. I don't believe in Buddha or anything. But you know what, though? You don't have to be religious to be connected on the spirituality level. Okay. Just mark my word on that. You don't have to be religious to get connected on the spirituality level. Religion is a synthetic or human manual way of expressing without many other ways. Okay, when people are running out of measures, they use religion, rituals, and certain activities to express their spirituality. And you may ask, how do you know? I'm glad you asked. Well, I studied at the seminaries before, okay? And that's why I got credentials to speak about that, right? But anyway, I'm not using my hat to squeeze you down, but feel free to ask a question, because ultimately we all have this question, at the end of the day, why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? What is the next thing? We're always looking for answers. That's why some of you come here for coachings, for teamwork together, right? That's very understandable. But ultimately, you have to have the answer. Why are you doing this? Because on Friday working session, the Friday, the open house, I usually ask people, you want to invest in the real estate? I got it. But let me ask you the first question. Why are you doing it? Are you doing it for retirement? Are you doing it to sponsor your children to go to one of the best colleges? Or you are doing it for fun? Or you are doing that just to prevent dementia, right? We all have a purpose. One of the most famous preachers in the United States once said, there are three parts of a human that somehow we call it the soul. Okay, that is will, mind, and emotion. Will, mind, and emotion. And it's validated through some of the scriptures and some of the literacies too. Okay, will. And that's why there is this movie based on the Think and Grow Rich, right? It's talking about where is there a will, there's a way. And Tony Robbins, Bob Proctor's, and all these, kind of inspirational speakers, they talk about a will. Willed it. They call it will it, right? But there's a second part called mind. Yes, you can will it. You can have a strong will, but you always get disturbed by your mind. Because your mind, just as in that scripture, Apostle Paul says, I want to do this, but my mind was pulling me the other way, right? Mind usually has 60,000 ideas go through every day. Hear me again. Our mind, on a daily basis, we have 60 ideas to go through our mind every single day. But unfortunately, 98% of them are very negative, telling you not to do this, telling you not to do that, telling you to pull back, hide away, all that. And even out of the 2% of the positive ones, we only adopt or listen to about 200 of them, okay? Including, hey, let's make a coffee. Hey, let's dial into the coaching session. Oh, let's ignore the laziness and then jump on the call or go knock on the door, right? We make decisions on those 2%, okay? But only 200 of those 2%. That's mind. Mind, unfortunately, unless you work it out, the companionship, mind is your biggest enemy. And in a second, we're going to talk about that. And the last, if not least, is called the emotion. Okay? Yes, you can have a good will, willing to do something to become rich or become a very, spiritual or something, be a good father, mother, right? A very good husband or wife. But your mind is telling you to do something weird. And because of all that, struggles and the environment, you have emotions. That's something you feel. How do you tame your emotion? Well, there are famous books wrote about emotion quotient, emotion intelligence, and all that, EI, right? All these are still theory. In the end, how do you cope with your emotion? Well, that's why we have psychologists, psychiatrists, right? We have counselors, right? We have a spiritual directors, right? All these roles are or chaplains to help you to cope with your emotion. Okay, not to take medicine, because once you take medicine from a psychiatrist, it's too late. Coping is no longer needed. Okay, you can count on the drug. So how do you cope with your emotion, right? How do you tame your mind, select the good gut feelings to make a decision on, right? And also, how do you assure your will is aligned with your families? And if you're spiritual, how do you align your will with God? And then that will make it happen, right? So those are the things that we constantly struggle as an entrepreneur, as a human being, as a parent, right? But hopefully the first session we already went through some interesting stuff, right? I'm gonna make a quick recall, and then today this session we're gonna talk about entrepreneurship and uncertainty. Okay, like it or not, entrepreneurship is uncertainty. And last week we talked about entrepreneurs. We need to have these qualities, characteristics, or personalities, right? And they're all biblical. They're all spiritual related too, right? Last time I only talked about risk taking, but today let's talk about making good choice. Making good choice. Romans 12:2. We talked about do not conform to the pattern of this world, not because everybody is buying the muddy door, so I should jump into the muddy door, right? Because Steve just talking about we were doing the data analytics and talking about the market movements. Apartment is overbuilt in Austin. That was last week. And apartment is overbuilt in Houston too. Okay. And actually, a lot of permits were issued, and the builders, contractors, and that they're trying to build it to the permits, right? To recoup their cash they put it in. Okay. So that's what the patterns of the world. If you conform to whatever does, everyone else does, you're not going to make it. Come on, you're not going to even survive, right? So, but be transformed by renewing of your mind. Did we talk about your mind is so full of whatever, right? 60,000 bad ideas, bad thoughts every day. So how do you renew your mind? Of course, you can have a counselor. You can have a spiritual director, for which I am a certified spiritual director at a church and out of a church, right? But don't count on drugs, well, including cigarettes, marijuana, or I wouldn't quote all these psychiatrists and medicines and prescriptions, right? Because I know all these terms. But anyway, so that's decision making, okay? But we also talked about spirituality as it's a team sport. It's not a lone wolf sport. You can't win like a lone wolf. Oh, people say, oh, tennis player, they're lone wolf. Well, come on. Even the Williams sisters and all the families, that they have a coach. They work together with their coach. Well, golfers are. Well, not really. Golfers all have their companions, have their coaches and co-players. Ping pong player, they all have their companion. They have their wingman to coach them and play with them, right? Well, baseball team, oh, come on. Baseball team is a team sport. I love baseball team. I coach my son's baseball team. I love it. It's team sport, okay? No matter how good your batting skills is, your catching skills is, and all that, it doesn't matter. If you don't have a team, you don't score it. Because even the best baseball team members, individuals, they cannot score a home run every game, okay? What about the winning then? 99% is counting on the runs, right? Yeah. Oh, we also talked a little bit about the stewardship, okay? We didn't spend a whole lot of time on, but spirituality, economic, and social qualities are all in a sync, in a synchronization, okay, between team, the business, the church, and the organization. Hopefully you agree with it. And entrepreneurs are preachers. Last time we did talk about that. Remember I talked about that you need to have a vision and a mission, and in the church we're talking about vision, mission, company, we do that too. And we're also talking about words and actions. And we're talking about this young lady graduated with the Harvard degrees, but created a $1 billion 30 under 30 enterprise. But she's jailed now because she cheated on the data and completely force fit a device that essentially cheated people who have undergone diabetes treatment, and basically everybody was fooled by her in $1 billion. So she's jailed, right, at an early 30-year-old. And we're also talking about effort and devotion. Freeman, he was a boxer, but he failed in the ring. He started entrepreneurship, become the best TV, silverware, cookware seller, businessman. And then he returned to the ring and won his championship. His story was made into a movie. If you didn't watch that movie, you should. You should. And we're also talking about the wealth, investment, and the lifestyle and the cause. By the way, I did say this is a Lady Gaga. Okay, I don't know you. If I have a daughter, no matter how successful my daughter is, and turned out to be like this, I will lose my sleep. Okay, I would have sacrificed my business and everything to strip down that kind of a cover. That worries me. That's a demon. That's a devil. However, because you are an entrepreneur, you speak loudly through your words, actions, and your lifestyle and your causes. And the people, especially young people, look up to you. So I beg you, brothers, sisters, if you're not a Christian, that's okay. Don't dress like this, because your action, your dress speak loudly. Okay? And I'm not against those people wear those diamond rings and the Super Bowl rings all the way around, have a thick necklace all around their necks. I'm not against that. I'm not even picking on that. I'm just saying, when you wear those, noodle thick necklace around your neck, watch who is watching you. Okay? Do you want your kids to dress like that? If you want, go for it. Okay? And I admire Will Smith, right? He raised a good kid. He raised good children, right? So, deviate a little bit, but pull back, right? So we can talk about that offline, right? If you are really dwelling on that. And that's why at a church, I serve at a ministry, at the youth ministry. All I care about are youth, children and youth. That's where my children's are. And then that's where I want all the children's being taken care of, okay? And we're also talking about the entrepreneurial life cycles. It's so exactly mimicking what the church life cycles or organization life cycles, right? So there is a turning point. There is a turning point where you either go up or you go down. How do you prepare that, right? And we call that an exit strategy in investment. I used to do private equities, right? With the largest private equity firm in the world. And also I worked in the Wall Street company before I became an entrepreneur. So we're always talking about exit strategy. But exit strategy is either you parachute it up, right? You ride a rocket up, or you parachute it down. But if you just drop without a parachute, you know what? It's death. So how do you plan that? How do we make that? And today we're going to talk about that a little bit. Okay, fair enough. So before we do that, I'm going to let you watch a video. I don't know how my sound is going to go through. Steve, can I go through my sound? Is there a way to make sure my sound go through?
I don't think so, John. I think we need to preload the
Is that
video
right?
in order to do it.
Oh man. Okay, let's see if I can do something about it.
Yeah.
Microphone arrays. All right, so let's just skip the video. It's just such a good video. Shame, man. We'll figure it out. Okay, we'll keep upgrading ourselves. So all I want, okay, so skip the video, but I'm going to show you the slide. So that was a movie, a brand new movie, by the way. It was in March. On the second day, I watched it on my flight to Spain, in a pilgrimage trip, and I watched this movie because I was supposed to give a sermon about mystic, and then spirituality, meditation, to a group of pastors and seminary professors. And then I watched this movie. It was so good. Okay, it's Conclave, right? Um, and in the movie, the main character says something. He says, "There is another sin called certainty. It is a great enemy of a unity. It is a deadly enemy of tolerance. Our faith is a living thing precisely because it walks hand in hand with doubt. If only certainty and no doubt, then there would be no mystery, and therefore no need for any faith." Wow. Do you know entrepreneurship 99% is counting on your faith? When nobody really trusts your product, when nobody really care about whether you make money or not, when your employee ditch you, and when your parents don't even believe don't even trust in your choice to become a business owner, right? When your spouse even ditch you and say, you know what, sleep on the street since you choose not to work for a Wall Street company makes so much money, right? My wife didn't do that. My wife actually embraced me to jump out of a corporate and become an entrepreneur. But do you know, faith is 99% of where the spirituality is for entrepreneurs, especially in the early stage. How does this mean to you, my friend? Take a second, just soak in. Ask yourself, what does it mean for me? Okay. And what does it mean to your business, to your ministry? Last, how does it mean to your entrepreneurship that you're in now, whether you're building a church, small groups, or you're starting your business in real estate or non-related to this real estate, right? What does it mean to your entrepreneurship? Okay. All right. Soaking. And I pray that your heart is touched by the Spirit. You hear something. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about why do entrepreneurs struggle. This is my main topic for today. And there will be a third one if y'all behave, and I'll give you some really good secret in the third session. Okay. Hopefully next week, but we'll see. Now, how and why do entrepreneurs struggle? Well, let's take a look at this. The top concerns for pastors or ministers on the left side. The top concerns for entrepreneurs on the right side. Okay, I didn't create this data. These are all statistics from some major surveys. So I did something though. I connected the left side with the right side. Yeah, we let the animation finish. All right, cool. Well, it took me like half an hour to draw those lines, but anyway, because it's so precise and so meticulous, you got to link them in the correct way. But so what's my point here? As you can see, whether you have been in the church or do pastorship before or not, doesn't matter. I'm telling you, entrepreneurship is a very, very spiritual. A lot of the struggles from the pastors are reflected in the business. That's why in the seminary I'm teaching now, I strongly advocated that we start an MBA program to teach the minister how to manage, how to have a right stewardship of not just money, but also talent, structure, governance, and everything. By the way, I teach masters and the PhDs in the seminary. Okay. That's just my hobby, right? As a professor. And I wanted the pastors to have this entrepreneur skill set. But on the other hand, entrepreneurs, You are preachers. You are pastors or chaplains in your business. You got to keep selling your visions and missions. You got to keep motivating them, edifying your people. You got to keep your path on when nobody believes you, right? So you are a preacher. If you don't agree with me, that's okay, because I got more slides you would agree upon. Okay. If you agree with me, just say why. Just type a Y or a yes in the chat. I would love to see that. At first, I'm going to type a Y. I agree with myself. Well, if you agree with me, feel free to type yes. Feel free to type Y. We'll see, right? Okay. Not even a Y from Steve? Come on. All right. Let's keep going. So, with that concern all correlated with each other, why there is so much of a similarity between pastors and entrepreneurs? So much similarity. Why is that? Well, let's take a look. Because expectation and the realities, they don't match. 99% 99, they don't match. Otherwise, there will be no black swan effect or surprising, outsales and breakthroughs, all that. Because when you imagine it, you think my efforts, my time I put it in will yield certain results, fruits. No, it's not. The reality is pretty tough. It looks like a spider, looks like a squid. It drops at any time unexpectedly. Okay. And that is very true to our spirituality, is similar. Guess what happened when entrepreneurs encounter these unexpected reality? This is what they do. Okay. First of all, the 5 stages of entrepreneurship. Oh, I'm sure you're going to like it. This is very, very helpful. There are 5 stages. The first stage is what we called uninformed optimism. Okay. Uninformed optimism, because people said this is good, so you jump in. All right. You get excited. Okay. You don't know why you're excited. You just excited. Second stage is when things don't go very well unexpectedly, and this is where you are informed pessimism. This is so informed pessimism. Okay. Because you know how hard it is. You know how hard to get a contract. You know how hard to knock on the door when you are so tired. You know how hard to dispose the properties. You know how hard to negotiate when you are not a business merchant, right? Yeah, now reality hits. It's informed with all the negativities. The next one is called a valley of despair. Yeah, in the Bible, in the Second Corinthians chapter 4, specifically talking about we're knocked down, but we're perplexed, but we're not, despair. There are confusions, but we're not despair. We're not giving up. But you know what though? This is called valley of despair. Yep, my friend, is valley of despair. And the next, what do people do? They look for another shining object, another uninformed optimism. Instead of doing the single house, they jump over to Airbnb. Instead of Airbnb, they jump into the co-founding on a multi-door. They just, when they're in the valley of despair, they make a bad decision. They jump onto the next shiny object. Okay, that just go on and on. When that goes into the valley of despair, guess what? They're going to look for another shiny object. Okay, well, let's take a look at the turning point. What successful people do, they keep pressing on, just like in the Philippians chapter 2 verses 13. We press on the target. Okay, we press on instead of looking for the next shiny objects. So now when they turn a little bit better, that's going to become an informed optimism, just like what Steve and I were talking about, the map process, the disposals, and also the short sales, and tax lien. We actually won a lot of tax lien deals, right? And we are informed that certain activities and the routines and certain decision makings will get us a success. And the last, we achieve the results. Okay, so The entrepreneurs struggle because they have to make decisions, okay, instead of executions. They struggle because of the internal battle. Yes, you're right. Mind. Okay? You fight your mind. And when we make decisions, it's so hard. There is a checklist of the things that we can execute that doesn't require too much of a thinking, right? We just go do it. We do as a coach does, ask us to do, and we'll go execute it. But if we have to make a decision in the early stage, that's when the mistake is making, and that's when the pessimism kicks in, and when we decided to give up. All right. So how do we make a decision? Okay. There are scenarios, and there are some execute time, and there are some key insight. Okay. For instance, Captain Sally, he landed his airplane, okay, on the Hudson River. I don't know if you remember, that was made into a movie by Tom Hanks as well, right? And at that time, he only got 3 minutes to make a decision, okay? And from a bird strike to landing is about 3 minutes. But how much time does he have to execute it? 200 seconds. 200 seconds. Okay, according to, I actually listened to him, his speech in person. It's a life or death emergency. Okay, his decision saved 155 people. 3 minutes to make decision, execution, 4 minutes. That's it. Okay, and then baseball. Okay, decision making is about 2 seconds because that's the speed of the swing. I mean the throw, and you have to swing it in 0.3 seconds. Decision is made instantaneously. Okay. Oh, even better one. The SWAT trainings, SWAT team, police force, they are trained hours, hundreds of hours, but the decision usually is made in 5 seconds. The execution is more than that, is actually 10 to 20 seconds. Okay? But that's a live or die situation. How about the Navy SEAL? I used to have a Navy SEALs work for me, right? It was a Navy SEAL major actually worked for me for a short period of time back in 2005 and 6. And the decision making is 10 seconds. The execution is 30 to 60 seconds. And that's when you die or somebody else die. Your entire team get wiped out. Okay? And you got to make a decision. Well, decision making is trained in hundreds of hours. Execution is trained in thousands of hours. Which one is easier? Well, execution is actually easier. Okay, coming to the emergency. So how do we train ourselves? We drill, we exercise, we experience, and we have SOPs or training documents. Okay, to end my portion, and I'll point your attention to this. There is a statistics. Okay, hopefully I convince you. Decision making, we have to train ourselves, but it's hard to train because the situation is always different. But execution, we can train ourselves and we can keep consistency. Okay, we can blindfold ourselves and execute it to successes. So how do we do that, right? That's $1 million question. And hopefully in the third session, I'm going to answer you. Okay. Now, let's take a look. The key traits of a serial entrepreneur. So that means the person has already gone through the valley of despair and already won through the achievement. And then the same person started another entrepreneur journey multiple times. So this is a survey done through 17,000 serial entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. The top skills they need for execution is persuasion. Okay, there is a training, and I would highly suggest you to take. It's FBI top negotiators training. Okay, oh, I love it. I listened to that guy's training probably 20 times, and I'm listening to it, especially when I'm dealing with the youth, right, teenagers. And then it's a leadership. Well, I put a question mark on leadership. Everything is about leadership. It's so gooey and so fuzzy, so mysterious, right? Yes, but it is important. The next one, more tangible, is called personal accountability. Did you have a checklist? Did you finish them all? That's what Steve is training people on, coaching people on. That's what I coach entrepreneurs about as well. Let's create our checklist. In a second, in 10 minutes, I'm going to talk to another entrepreneurs in my office here. And I'm going to train that person, and I'm going to check his homework to see if he has already finished it, what I assigned him to do. It's a personal accountability. Okay. Another is goal-oriented. Do you know your goal? Did you manifest your goal every day? Do you answer your own questions every morning? The last but not least is the interpersonal skill set. Okay. What, most of the serial entrepreneurs are not really above average or analytical problem solving. Let the experts do the data for you. Let REIQ to do real estate IQ to do the data analytical for you, to give you data, right? That's not something you need to focus on. Empathy. We are not, I'm an entrepreneur, but I'm not introvert. How do I succeed? It doesn't matter. Okay. Planning and organizing. Now, most of the entrepreneurs are not doing very well, but they still get really, really successful. How about that? You get your own COO. Sometimes it's your wife, sometimes it's someone, your co-partners, right? And the last is the self-management. A lot of entrepreneurs, they're OCDs. And sometimes it's ADHDs. Yeah, they're very, very compulsive, but they can be successful. How? Because it's a team sport, and you need to focus on what you're good at, okay? But if you're good at on these four, congratulations, your success is in no time. Let me end it in a cartoon picture. The most important thing, from my second topic, entrepreneurship is about overcome adversaries and challenges and struggles, is all about knowing yourself. So hopefully the next time, the third session, I'm going to talk about how do you know yourself a little bit. Yeah, it's a soft skill, it's a GUI, but you know what though? Sooner or later, you need this. Now I yield my stage back to Steve. Steve, the time is yours.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it.
Of course.
Okay, so we got we're now at our Q&A segment. A couple of questions. We got some questions on short sale and some questions on entrepreneurship. So I got a good question for you, John. How do you balance building a profitable business while staying true to your values and mission?
Oh, wow. That's a tough question. Okay, I'm not going to use a cliche and say that's a good question. All questions are a good question, but that's a tough question. And I get lost all the time. You know my secret? What my secret is? I allow myself to get perplexed, to feel like a failure, to feel sad. And I have my channel to let them out. That's my top secret. Because we will be beaten down and we will encounter adversaries. There's no way you can avoid it. Come on, Catherine. There's no way you can avoid it. But you just need to know how to cope with it. Okay. And have a journal. And I brought my journal. I have a journal, spiritual journal. I write down my feelings. Okay. And I talk to my counselor. I talk to my spiritual director. And then now I'm a spiritual director and a counselor. I actually talk to people about their feelings. That's the most important thing. The habit. Oh, I love it. Oh, I love it, Catherine. Get grounded. To building wealth is I need to know, number one, what I'm building my wealth for, Catherine. I met a lot of entrepreneurs. One of my entrepreneurs already made up to $1 billion, right? And he lost everything. One of his top three lessons learned was he doesn't know what he was making money for because he grew up poor. So his goal was to not be poor. That's not a great goal to hold $1 billion. You know what I mean? That's not a great grand goal to hold $1 billion in your bank. Okay? So what am I saying? Number one is you need to understand what you build your wealth for. You got to have a clear reason for that. That wakes you up at midnight. And number two, how much is your wealth is for the greater goodness of others. A team sports, remember team sports. How much is only for your own pleasure? That's number two. So when you are so tired and perplexed, when you think about others, you will continue on. I guarantee you. That's the second one. It will keep you awake, keep you up. Number three, you need to have someone to talk to. Best one is your journal, your spiritual journal. At least you have a spiritual journal you can talk to. Let me give you a secret. As a pastor, okay, I'm gonna give you a secret. When you write down something, it's a prayer. It's called a written prayer. I'm not making this up. When you write your emotions down, instead of whining to someone or gossiping to someone, you are actually praying. You are actually praying. So have a journal, write it down, pray about it, and talk to someone about it. Like here, I'm glad you raised that question, Catherine. That's precious. You know what? Because you asked, you are blessed. You are blessed already. Another thing about building wealth is you need to allocate your wealth in an appropriate way. Instead of putting everything in one or two locations where there is an economy downturn and you have to move them around, getting yourself back into the panic again. And that's what I call the wealth grounding principle. Okay, and don't follow don't follow everybody else. That's the decision making. So that slide, and I'm going to snapshot that slide and put in the chat. And thank you for your question. That's beautiful. So the slide I was showing all the traits, the 8 traits of entrepreneurship, and the books and the message from the Bible. The 6, and I'm going to put in the chat so y'all can see it. Okay. All right, back to you, Steve.
Yeah, I wanted to add at this end, profit versus, right? Does it align, profit versus value and mission? Sometimes if it goes the opposite direction, what do we do? This just happened, right? Because the foreclosure just happened on Tuesday. And actually, this is the Josephine deal because our offer is so low that the lender initially just rejected it. And then they go, what are you going to do? And I thought we were thinking that, what's our first principle, right? Our first principle is to help the owner to stop her foreclosure. We should be looking out for her best interest. Because what we could do is, there's no deal, we're gonna just let go into foreclosure or whatever. We could possibly go with that option, just kind of, it's a lose-lose. But I thought, what's the first principle? I think our first principle is to help
one more person to win.
Yeah, is to help her. And so if we don't win the deal for whatever reason, that's okay. As long as we can help her achieve her best interest. And I just thought, that's a good example here, a real example.
Absolutely.
And I think, kind of that first principle was a good guidance for us.
Yeah, if I may chime in, helping one more person to win, we didn't have it in the very beginning when we had the business. But later on, we keep hearing the people talking about, pre-foreclosure is about a shark, being a good shark. We just bite as much of a flesh off them as possible. And I had a deep trouble with that statement. It's actually one of our clients. And I thought, is that what I'm doing now? What Steve and I'm doing now? By claiming a spiritual company while we're just biting off every last flesh of their bones? No, we're not doing that. And it took a long time, deep thinking, and a lot of kind of a brainstorming and altercations between Steve and myself too, mentally, right? And it was agony, of not knowing why we were doing, right? We are finally coming to the light. We are literally we are right now helping you to win. We're helping those pre-foreclosure families to win. Do you know that we can use some of the network to do a debt consolidation? We actually would like to help these pre-foreclosure families to get out of a debt, okay? And we have a financial services too. Friday I'll talk about it. For what? We actually provide that network and the connections for free, right? No charge, whatever. Why? Because we think pre-foreclosure can make everybody win-win, but most importantly is to help them to get back on their feet, Catherine. Yes, ground themselves so they don't not only worry about debt, but they start thinking about their future, the wealth, the blessings. So, yeah.
So our official time is up. We got a couple more questions, and we got a little more. So for those who are interested in staying behind, feel free. And if not, feel free to drop off too. You can always catch the recording that should be sent to you at the when this session ends. Okay. There's a really good question about what are the biggest mistakes new investors make when you try to negotiate a short sale. And there are a couple, actually. The first one is not understanding the lender's process and their timeline. And so if you are, because in a short sale, you're actually negotiating with the bank. And so you need to package the deal. You got to get everything right. Otherwise, they're going to decline it. And also just having the anticipation that, hey, it would take maybe 3 months, 4 to 6 months, and just kind of have that expectation that it is a process to finishing the deal. Another mistake would be overpromising the seller, because the lender may approve or they may decide to not approve that short sale. And so you don't want to overpromise to them and then not being able to deliver. So it's very important to have like somebody who has gone through the short sale as a guidance. A real estate agent who is experienced in short sale would also be very helpful in this situation. Catherine is asking if I bring a potential short sale lead to the group, what we can walk you through. And usually, we really enjoy coaching and guiding and mentoring, but I find it very difficult, John, and I think you will agree too, is to kind of talk about the concepts all day long. And I think, I certainly have fallen into a trap, just kind of talk about theory, because I studied physics in college. When we learn the most is when we actually apply and do the actual work. And because we can talk about, oh, you just need to do this. But as you kind of make progress on the deal and actually kind of like, even I say this all the time, even the process of filling out a contract and what to put in certain fields, if you haven't done it, you can talk about it all day long, you just don't know how to do it. So we can walk you through step by step how to do it. And our goal is to train you. So then, the next deal you see a short sale, you can start, doing it. You can actually do more of it and kind of master it. All right. I'm gonna skip the featured deals. If you're curious about the deals we have, just fill out the deals program. We're going to share a URL here. Christian's going to help us share the URL for the deals program. We have new deals that join our inventory, right? That goes in our inventory all the time. Basically, we have connections with several groups that provide these deals for us. So when you fill out that deals program, we'll ask you a series of questions to understand your buy box, and then we'll connect you with the right deals. Okay, so skipping through all this. As closing, a couple of upcoming events. We have how to find great investment deals. That's going to be on tonight, and also we'll play again this coming Saturday. So whichever time works for you, either Thursday evening or Saturday morning, really good time to kind of learn and understand the different types of investment deals out there. And then tomorrow we have the Deal Makers Meetup, where we actually talk about how to do the deals in action. And then John is going to be the one that's leading our Friday open house, talk about all the different items that you can take advantage of as a part of the community at Real Estate IQ.
Yeah, if I may,
Yes.
tomorrow I'm going to also talk about the economy. Okay, And the one big, beautiful bill act has already passed. A lot of people don't understand what's the ramification to their taxations and everything. I have the credential to speak to that a little bit. So tomorrow I may hit some of the key points. Okay. And also, what's the ramification of the lower the yield by the Federal Reserve, right? What's
Yeah,
the
I've been curious
impact
about
on
that.
investment?
So
That's right.
thank you.
So I'm going to talk about that. Yeah. So make sure that, I mean, you can join or you can bring your guests and friends as well. I'm more than welcome. I'd love to share all these insights with y'all.
Okay, cool. I've had this QR code for the last minute now. So if you haven't taken your phone and kind of snap on this link, you can go ahead and do that and schedule a time with one of our consultants and learn more about what Real Estate IQ has to offer. One-on-one consultation. And we just want to congratulate you for staying with us this whole time. And it's really about taking action. Right? Entrepreneurship is about taking action and failing and doing. Keep learning. We're always learning new lessons. We're experimenting new things all the time. Some things work, some things don't. And, over time, we got to learn to really focus on the things that work and just keep growing that. And, just keep failing forward. Another advice that I share recently was just have the consistency of keep doing it for at least 90 days, right?
Yeah.
Maybe even longer.
Days.
Build that muscle of consistently executing, and you'll find success. So that's all we got today.
And
Thank
90
you, John,
days is the key. Yeah.
Go ahead, please.
Amen. That's awesome. Thank you, Steve. Thanks, everybody.
Consistency is the key. It's the hardest. It's simple.
It's the hardest.
But actually, it's the hardest and I think just being consistent, it puts you ahead of 90% of people.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Next week, I'm going to talk a little bit about that, how to keep consistent, what to keep consistency about. Yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
Cool. Have a good day, everybody. And we'll see y'all next week. And also, obviously, we have
maybe tomorrow.
some events tonight.
Yeah.
Starting tonight. So see you soon.
See you soon.
Thank you, guys.